Imagine you're boarding an airplane and you put on your seatbelt, you look out of the window, but then you have the worst takeoff of your entire life. The airplane almost starts vertical, you're pushed back in your seat, but you gotta make it. So then they give you free drinks to make up for it, and the rest of the flight is pretty smooth. But then you have the worst landing ever, and you land sideways, you're afraid if you're gonna make it, your heart rate is up. How are you gonna rate that airplane ride? Terrible, right? Because we remember things based on how they started and how they ended. And the same applies to your presentations, and I call this the 40-10 rule. Namely, to spend 40% of your time on the 10% that matter the most, the beginning of your presentation and the end. So how can you do that? Well, start by grabbing attention with a story, a shocking fact, or a question, and then make a promise of what people will gain from your presentation, and end your presentation by signaling you're coming to the end, meaning so the main takeaway here is, and then make an impactful ending by, again, or ending with a story or a call to action. And this is just one of 5 simple rules to present 10 times better and accelerate your career. And next up is the 25% rule, which can help you to present way more confidently. So let's watch this video of Barack Obama's first big presentation and rate how nervous he comes across. 1 is not nervous at all, and 10 is super nervous.
Tonight is a particular honor for me because, let's face it, my presence on this stage is pretty unlikely. My father was a foreign student, born and raised in a small village in Kenya.
And what's your rating? Well, after having trained more than 500 people in presentation skills and asked them, the average rating is around 2 to 3, so not nervous at all. But the interesting thing is, in his biography he wrote that he could barely sleep the night before of his first presentation, and also he was terrified, he was very nervous. But you can barely see that, right? And that is exactly what I call the 25% rule, because however nervous you feel inside, your heart racing, your palms being sweaty, your thoughts racing, the audience can only see around 25% of that nervousness. And once you realize that, the next time you're freaking out, you can calm yourself so much down because you know, hey, at least the other people don't really notice it as much. But what about moments when you feel calm, but you have the feeling that you're losing the attention of your audience? Well, that's where the 5-minute rule comes in. Because how often are you sitting in a presentation that's just boring? First, you're just nodding politely. After 5 minutes, your brain is somewhere completely else. And after 10 minutes, you're checking your phone, not because you're rude, but it's just boring, right? So what can you do instead when you're presenting? Well, when I was a kid, I played this game where I kicked up a balloon and it was not allowed to touch the floor. And every time it was just about to hit the ground, I kicked it up and I played this game forever, always kicking up the balloon again. And that's exactly the 5-minute rule that helps you to keep your audience awake, engaged, and inspired. Namely, every time when the ball is slowly dropping, which is typically around every 5 minutes, you re-engage them by sharing a quote, by asking them a question, a rhetorical question, sharing a story, having a valuable insight, asking for a poll, doing anything, at least every single 5 minutes. But even if you do that, there's still the risk that sometimes you don't really connect with the audience as much as some other people do. And that's where the next rule comes in. So in my workshops, I sometimes record people with their phone. And when analyzing it with them, almost every single time, the first reaction is, oh, I barely look at the audience. I thought my eye contact was pretty good. And you can save yourself from that realization and make way more of a connection by realizing the 360-degree rule. How does it work? So step number 1, you look at the person all the way to the left and you look at them for 1 full sentence. And then you randomly look to somebody else and again, look at them for a full sentence. And you keep this doing every time, looking at somebody new, looking for a full sentence. And a good sign when you actually looked at them enough and you connected, they will nod. Next time you present, do it, and I promise you somebody will nod, and you're going to connect with them a lot more. And if you then also apply the fifth rule, which I call high and low, I'm sure you're going to make a massive impact. So again, in those workshops, ever so often, or many more times, I have people that present very monotone without even realizing. And when I show them what's possible by changing their voice, by adapting it, everybody can feel and hear the difference. But the issue is, it's very difficult to apply. And it took me many years of workshops to realize that the only way to make people have more variety authentically is by using the so-called high and low rule. So sometimes you present something with high energy, whatever that means to you, speeding up, talking fast, engaging. And then sometimes you drop to a low energy, where you slow down, make a pause, and leave an impact.